Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alexa and Friends. My name is Jeff Blankenburg, and today I have Angel Calvo here, who's joining us from the Amazon Smart Home team. So, Angel, thank you so much for being here.
Jeff, thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to today.
Yeah, so, we'll see how you feel about that in just a minute. I have a couple of silly questions that I'd like to ask you, and that's often where we start these interviews. And so the first one that I'd like to ask you, which I think offers a lot of insight into people, is a question about superpowers. In the last 10 or 15 years, we've seen a ton of superhero movies released in the theaters, and people tend to gravitate towards certain superpowers. They think that one's cool or interesting or neat. And so I'm always interested to ask people, if you got to pick a singular superpower for yourself, what would you pick?
If you would have asked me a year and a half ago, probably I would have chosen a different superpower because I'm a very Star Wars fan. So probably I would have asked for Jedi powers.
Oh, yeah.
But those that would be awesome. But one of the things that I have learned in the last year and a half, I think one of the superpowers that I would love to have is the ability for me to put myself in somebody else's shoes emotionally. Someone like have that empathy emotion. Being
Super
able
empathy,
to,
yeah.
yeah, super empathy. Being able to actually in difficult situations be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you really understand, really what is important to them. You really help them through that journey. I think actually that helps as well with customers. It helps with your coworkers, with family. So I think it's an amazing superpower to have. So definitely, I think I would choose that one now.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've this is I think this is our almost our 40th episode of this show, and I find that a lot of the people that I've talked to that are deep into the idea of artificial intelligence and science and smart home and like just this entire Alexa world, how many people really feel, one, that they could be more empathetic, but that they wish that they could also instill some empathy on others.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be a common theme that runs through a lot of these interviews, and I can't say that I disagree. I'd love to see more empathy in the world, and I'm glad to see that you're actively trying to pursue that by choosing a superpower that direction. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Emotion detection. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah. All right. The second question is even a little more bizarre, but I have to tell you a quick story, and then I want you to make a choice.
Okay.
So I want you to imagine for a moment that you're walking through a large city blocks, big buildings, skyscrapers, and you need to get from the street you're on, let's say it's 17th Street, over to 18th Street, which is just one block over. Now, if we're walking through a normal city, you'd have to walk out and around some large building to get to where you need to go. But you're running it in a hurry, and you can see down an alleyway the destination that you're trying to get to just on the other side of this block. Now, it's a brightly lit day. It looks very safe. There's no reason to say that you shouldn't go down this alley, so you decide to head that direction. And as you get about halfway down the alley, you notice at the end that you're heading towards emerges a large horse-sized duck, a really large duck, right? About the size of a horse. Now, if you're smart, like I think I would be, you would turn around and say, no, thank you. I'm going to go the other direction. At which point you notice that the end that you entered, the place you started, has been closed in by 100 duck-sized horses, a bunch of very tiny horses. So my question for you is, you need to escape from this alleyway, and you know that you need to go one direction or the other. There's no way to go up. Which direction would you choose and why?
Okay, I have a clarification question. Are these like really mean ducks or are they really nice ducks?
Not friendly. They're looking for a conflict, yeah.
Okay. I think I will choose the one duck confrontation. I think statistically, I think I'll have a better chance.
Sure. Yeah. I now I'm 45 years old, and so in my head I'm still about 26, and so I imagine that I'll just take a running start at it, and as I get close, I'll just slide. I'll just slide underneath it, right?
That's right.
I know how that would actually go. Being 45, I would stumble and trip and fall right into it, and then it would just peck me or something. But yeah, I tend to lean towards the one duck also. I have this, I've asked this question dozens of times now, and I always feel like I really would want an opportunity to befriend the giant duck. I think that there's something to be said for having a friendly relationship. Maybe I get to ride it. We can fly around together. Ultimately, I think that's where I'd try to land with the big duck. But I'm with you. I think 100 horses is intimidating.
It is intimidating, and I only imagine, all of them jumping on you. I was like, oh.
Right.
Yeah, it can get really crazy really quick.
Well, okay. So thank you for entertaining me with a couple of silly questions. I do want to get into the real content of today, which is, who are you? Why are you here? Why should people Be interested in what you have to say. And I'd love to start that conversation by talking about where you've been. One of the things that our audience really loves, and something that I really like hearing from folks, is you've had a long work history, right? You went to college someplace, maybe for a specific degree. You went on to have a job at multiple places. I'd love for you to give me that 5-minute story about kind of what your path has looked like and how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think, I knew sort of that you're going to ask me this question. So, I've been in this industry for quite some time, so I had to like rewind
Sure.
back in history. And a couple of things that you notice, obviously, I have an accent because I'm from Spain. So I grew up in Madrid, Spain.
Okay.
And, I was pretty fortunately early on I think when I was 12 or 13, and remember, my stepdad came out with this Apple computer to the home. And I gotta tell you, that changed my life completely. I was totally blown away by having this thing in my house that looked like a TV with a keyboard and could do these magical things. And it really, I got hooked. And I got hooked in a way that very quickly, and I started reading books and I started really trying to understanding how to write code. And by the time I was like 14 and 15, I sort of realized that this is it. This is my passion. So, I continued learning, more, and I decided to go to a small college. It's in Toledo, Spain. It's about 70 kilometers, from Madrid, to study mathematics. Because back then, computer science, it was not something that was
Right.
around, or it was, but it was very primitive to some degree. So, learn mathematics, and at the same time, I was basically learning, to code. I started learning more about how computers are connecting to each other. And I was very fortunate that I got an internship, in Oracle and one of their partners called Intrainfo back then. Basically they focus on connecting mainframes with the PCs.
Oh,
So that to me, it was just like magical. It's like, wait a second, you can actually write software that you can enables you to connect two pieces of hardware. That for me is just like, it was just like magical. It's like,
yeah.
okay, I gotta learn about this. I gotta like figure it out how these kind of things work. Back then, obviously, I didn't have that much experience. It was a very new field for me, but I was very fortunate. I have very good mentors around me. They really helped me that I could actually learn from about how do you write code in the machine level to actually send data from a mainframe into a PC, be able to display it. So that's kind of how I started building my skills. And I started building my skills in networking. Started learning protocols like IPS, SPS, which was a novel protocol, token ring networks. That sort of brought me into realizing where do I going to go professionally? Back in, this is, you're talking about 1989, 1990. Back in those days, Spain, that it was not very well known for software development. So I needed to look around. I realized that there was this company, in the other part of the planet, what I call it, the other part of the planet, which was Microsoft in Seattle, Washington. And I was like, well, maybe I should try to go over there and learn how to do my job. So, in 91, I started working in Microsoft is basically a software development and test to really focus on testing the different network protocols in Windows and PC mail. And you know what? It started there. One day, I started working on another product. I thought I was going to be in Seattle for 2, 3 years. I've been here now 30 years. So that gives you a perspective, how life is. You never really can plan these things. It's just sometimes it
Right.
happens. That's kind of what happened to me. So I was at Microsoft for 27 years, primarily working in software solutions for enterprises and developers. And then one day I wake up and I say, wow, I want to learn to do my job somewhere else. And there was this amazing opportunity to join the Amazon Web Services team, AWS. So I decided to, go work in AWS. It was at the time, it was for me, it was really fascinating what Amazon was doing in the cloud computing business and the technology, the amount of innovation that was happening. So, my curiosity, it's like, God, I got to go there. I got to learn to do this.
Yeah.
So I ended up being general manager in AWS, managing a couple of services, CloudTrail and AWS Config. Did that for a couple of years, and I started realizing, so I stopped kind of like learning a lot about, I learned a lot about AWS, but I realized I was doing a very similar job that I was doing in Microsoft. So I realized it's like, look, I got to keep learning. So I decided, like, what am I going to do next?
Right.
And I look around my house and I realized I'm a total geek. I got like smartphone devices everywhere,
Yeah.
as you can imagine. So I was like, I want to learn to do that. I want to figure out what is the magic behind Alexa smart home. And I really want to go and learn, the technology, how people are thinking about resolving these problems for customers. So, about a year and a half ago, I decided to move to the smart home team. And I've been one of the directors for engineering and software for the last year and a half. So, that is a condensed version of kind of my career, the things that
Yeah.
I've been able to do.
Oh, that's exciting. And I mean, 27 years at Microsoft. I was there 9 years, and I thought that was a really long time for someone to be at Microsoft. 27.
Yeah.
That's an entire career right there. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think what it kept me going, and I think that this is something that I learned about myself. You probably see it in my LinkedIn. I change jobs pretty frequently, because to me, I think that I always had this sort of anxiety of getting stuck from a learning perspective.
Sure.
So, that anxiety kind of pushed me to always push myself to try a new team, try a new position, try to go fix a different problem for customers. So that kept me going. So that, 27 years went by without even blinking. And then one day you realize it's like, this is it. This is the only company I'm going to work for. So this opportunity in Amazon, it was there and it was difficult to pass. So yeah, I'm very glad that I did.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this for Microsoft since I did have a long time there as well, but I'm glad you left too. I'm glad you're here, and as you said, you're the director of engineering for Alexa Smart Home, and I think that's an incredibly exciting place to be right now. My house is fully decked out with smart home stuff, including all the lighting and nonsense that's behind me, and so it's one of those things that I continue every day I walk through my house. I'm like, you know what? I should really do that. I should fix that light switch. I should do this thing. There's so much more that could be done. It's often limited by dollars, but it's amazing to me just the capabilities we can have in our homes.
I completely agree with you. I think we're still in the early stages of what is possible, right? And I think you and I probably are very different customers than, the vast majority of customers on the planet, right? Because we tend to be more technology focused. We probably have a few more devices than most people.
Right.
But I think that the world is changing, and it's changing very rapidly. And I think I'm with you. I think the opportunity is so great, and I think there's so many things that we can do in this space that I'm just really excited about it.
Right. Well, you and I probably are similar minds in that way, right? We love technology. We love to try to find new ways to innovate in our homes. But you shared a video with me about a
Oh,
guy that's doing some amazing things. So much so that, like, I think I want to go rent this guy's place, which is just outside Redmond. So for all of you that maybe need a little inspiration about things you might be able to do around your smart home, I'm going to show you a quick video. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this.
The forest. Hundreds of trees, thousands of birds, and millions of Alexa-enabled devices.
Actually, there's about 150 devices in this forest, but who's counting?
This is Scott. This is Jackson. And we are in... Oh, Scott, what exactly is this place?
This is the Emerald Forest and the Emerald Forest Theater. We built this about 3.5 years ago. Everything's connected to Alexa control devices. When we thought about starting to rent out the treehouse as a short-term rental, I had no interest in walking out at 7:30 in the morning saying, "Here's your breakfast."
So
I hooked up a cable and played with about 37 different configurations. Finally got it down.
care to demonstrate?
Alexa, zipline breakfast.
So, you want breakfast? Done.
Come on, bud. Here you go, bud.
Any other tricks up your sleeve?
Okay. I've got Alexa-enabled ceiling fan, space heater, lights that dim, lights that change color. Alexa, turn on pond waterfall. Alexa, turn on hot tub jets. The treehouse is booked pretty much every night. When guests see what I can do with my voice and the different commands, they say, "Why can't we do this in our house?" Alexa, turn off lights. I tell them it's actually easier than you think it is.
Well, Scott, any final words?
Alexa, turn on the magic. It is absolute joy and pleasure trying to make something that I'm proud of and something that I would want to experience. Nothing makes my heart warmer than having people come in and experience this in a way that is meaningful to them. Never gets old.
So you shared that video with me a couple of days ago, and I've probably watched it 10 times since. The zip lining breakfast is just such a clever solution, and actually something that I'm trying to solve here in my own home. Not the breakfast part, not even the zip lining part, but I have a door here in my office, and I like to keep the door open. I work from home, and I have people coming by, and it's nice to see my kids and my family as they go by. But then I have conference calls, and I very much want that door to close. And so it's not a huge step, but like I have to walk out and around a desk, and it's all as the phone is ringing for a call, and it's chaos all of a sudden. And so I've been looking for a mechanism that I could use, and I'm going to dig in more to how he's done it. I have a spring hinge on my door, so there's no big mechanism; it's just built into the hinge. But when you let the door go, it just automatically closes.
Closes.
And so what I want to do is have a smart magnet that is holding on to the door to keep it open. And then when I talk to my device and say, it basically turns the magnet off, which allows the door hinge to release and close the door. I think that would be absolutely amazing. And that's going to have to be one of my next steps.
I think that would be totally amazing. And actually, I want to learn how you do it, because it will be a cool implementation.
Right. The electromagnet stuff has been tricky. I've bought a few that are devices that you would buy for like Raspberry Pis and stuff like that. And they're not powerful enough to hold the door. So I need to find something that's actually strong enough to hold on to a metal plate that I've attached to the bottom of the door so that it'll hold on, but I haven't gotten there yet. Anyway, I'm going way, way, way beyond what I think we were planning on talking about today, but you can see that I get really excited about this pretty quickly. So
I love the video. I think that video really represents what is possible, and I think it's very inspiring. I think for us to actually see customers that they are actually so creative. So maybe Jeff, maybe you will be next. And maybe we can do a video with you about all the amazing things that you're doing at home.
Goodness, that would be great. And I will tell you, it all started actually before Alexa. When my kids were young, they're teenagers now, but when they were young, they would get up in the middle of the night, and they have their own bathroom at their end of the hallway of our house, and they would go in the bathroom and they would turn on the light and they would get a drink of water or go to the bathroom or whatever, and then they would go back to bed. But they would never, ever once turn off the light. And that light from that bathroom shines right down the hallway into my bedroom. And it used to drive me crazy because they'd get up, I could hear them, and then the light would be on, and I'd be like, I gotta go turn the light off. So then I'd have to get up and go turn the light off in the middle of the night. So it all started before even like smart devices. I just found a motion sensing light switch. Yeah. It turns on when you walk in the room, and after 5 minutes of noticing there's no motion, it turns itself off. That has saved me countless evenings of no sleep and whatever, even to it's still in there now, even though they're teenagers, because they still don't turn lights off. But it's that triggered me to think about all the other things that I could be doing around my house. And man, it's just so exciting.
No, it is pretty exciting. That use case that you just mentioned is one of the use cases that we're actually thinking more and more about it. How can we actually do it without your intervention? How can we learn from those type of behaviors and be able to take an action? Sometimes we call them hunches, in a smart home, but how we can hunch that is something that you want us to do on your behalf, so we can actually turn up those lives when your kids forgot to turn them off. So this is part of this proactive experience that we are really thinking about more and more to enable. So I love that use case.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the work that you're doing. So like we said, you're on the Alexa Smart Home team. You're director of engineering. What's kind of the origin story or the mission of this team?
Yeah, good question. So when Alexa was released into the market, in those first months when it was available to customer, really a smart home wasn't actually a supported use case or feature. We never really thought about Alexa like this smart home, experience. It was more about how you can interact with voice, how to create a true, a digital companion. But very quickly we realized the customers started using it to do things with Alexa to trigger smart home events. They started telling like, turn on my lights, right? And so we started seeing this. So we quickly, we realized the customers, really want this sort of a smart home experiences. They could start controlling, with voice, their devices in the home. So we started, investing in these features. Little that we knew that there were actually manufacturers of smart home devices that they actually want to integrate with Alexa. You actually bring this type of integrated experience for device controls. So we created a team. We said, look, we need a team of people that this is what they focus. They focus about enabling these voice control experiences for the consumer of an Alexa device, as well as let's go and build, the tools and the APIs that enables manufacturers of smart home devices to integrate seamless with the Alexa voice. So that became a smart home. And since then, it's just been a continuous, set of innovation after innovation in this space.
So what are the things that have stood out to you most as this has evolved? What are the things that stand out to you the most?
I think the part, well, first of all, I was actually very naive about a smart home. I really was. I would say I was really experienced as a consumer of it. What I mean by that, both devices, I could control it. Obviously I'm a tech person, so I could do some interesting things that most people maybe would not been able to actually be brave to do. But in reality, when I came to the smart home thing, the first thing that really blew me away is the number of customers that we have, in the different type of customers. So things that maybe people don't know is that, Alexa Smart Home has three main customers. We have the developers. They actually integrates with the Alexa Smart Home experience. These typically are manufacturers, so you are a light bulb manufacturer, a switch manufacturer, a camera manufacturer. We enable this integration of your devices into Alexa, and through skills, we can actually help you with voice commands, be able to control those devices. So super powerful. So like that was the first thing that I realized, like, wow, they're developers, which kind of like resonated with me. Like, wow, I'm really going to enjoy this part. The second one, I realized that we have our own internal, set of developer and teams that we work very closely with together. A smart home enables, from an Echo family device to a Ring device to an Aero device. We basically integrate these experiences across our Amazon and smart home devices. So that was another set of customers. And then we have the consumer of Alexa that buys, frankly, many different types of devices. Either we enable this type of experiences either through GUI, so you're using what we call a multimodal device, like an Echo Show device, as well as the mobile application. So you have a mobile app or Fire TV. So we have these sort of GUI experiences. So to me, it was very fascinating that we have those sort of customer segments. And then the next part that really was fascinating is the technology behind it. I have no idea the amount of innovation that we needed to put in front of our customers to enable these experiences from, API, backend services, front-end services, to building a system for machine learning. They can actually learn. They can actually basically bring to customers proactive experiences. You anticipate what customers are going to do. So super powerful. For me, it was pretty surprising, that diversity of both products and customer segments.
Yeah, I completely agree. So one of the things that I often enjoy digging into as we get into these conversations is to talk a little bit about the future.
Yep.
Where do you see the smart home and ideally the voice industry? Where do you see it headed, and what role is your team taking in helping to shape the direction of that?
Yeah, it's actually sort of difficult sometimes to foresee the future,
Sure.
but I think you have evidence today of predicting, what are we're going to go? What is that potential opportunity? I think one of the things that really has been resonating, to me, either our senior VP Dave Lim has communicated, as well as Tom Taylor, is this concept of an ambient intelligent home, right? How an ambient intelligent is about this leap forward for the home that basically understands using AI and adapts accordingly when you are in the home. So it's there when you need it, but actually recedes into the background when you don't. So in a way, what we want to do is that we want customers to actually, in a way, interact less directed to the device, and instead, for us to learn about how customers are using those devices, their state of their home, how they're using these devices. If from there we can create this proactive experience, and be able to help the customers to do much more. I think one of the things too that is becoming much, much clearer to all of us is that, early on, customers were buying a smart home device. Primarily they use for device control, right? Commands, Alexa, turn off a light, Alexa, show me the front door. And in the future, I think that you're going to start seeing more, all these different devices working together in a more harmonic way, right? So think about it more heterogeneous, where the devices, they'll be able to know about each other. You can actually build more complete experience. We already done some things like this with one of our products that is called Alexa Guard, which is a sort of a safety, security type of experience where you can tell Alexa that you're going to be away. And when you are away of the home, we understand that there are a number of things that we want to do on your behalf. Maybe you want to have your away lighting to turn on. So it means that we understand that you are not in the home. So we're going to take control of the lights in your home and make them to behave in a particular way when you are not there. You can imagine that you can extend that to so many different use cases. That is really where that ambient intelligence comes into play, by using that data, using AI, combine them, make the devices to work in a harmony, be able to deliver this type of more integrated experiences for customers.
Yeah, for those of you that are regular watchers, you've heard me talk about this ever since I met the CEO of a company called Span, who builds they make smart fuse boxes. And he dropped a piece of wisdom on me that still breaks my head a little bit every time I think about it. And I'd like to share it with you because I'm interested to hear how you think something like this might be accomplished also. But what he basically described, as we were talking about the future, was the idea that homes will no longer have light switches at all. And it was a really interesting thought exercise to go through, like, okay, what does that really mean? Because how do I turn on my lights? I mean, of course, I could ask for the lights to turn on, but that's kind of inconvenient for each room. So we must be talking about some kind of other sensor that recognizes when I'm in need of light, right? That is really the solution. And I think it goes beyond, is there a person here? It's not motion sensing, but it's contextual sensing. Because if I'm walking through my house at 7 p.m., I probably want the lights on. I want to be able to walk through and do that. But if I'm coming home from a late night out and everyone's asleep and it's 2 a.m, I probably don't want all of the lights to turn on as I walk through the house, right? So those contextual hints and clues go a long way in helping the devices understand when they should and shouldn't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, completely agree, Jeff. And I think one of the innovations that we introduced a few years ago is this concept, we call it hunches. You're probably familiar with it. Yeah. The hunches is all about that sort of proactiveness, anticipation, if you will, of those type of experiences that you want us to learn from, so we can actually anticipate, take those type of actions on your behalf. And I think the one with lighting is a great example where we can hunt when you go to bed. Based on understanding that, we can actually turn off the lights for you, right? You don't need to turn on the light. You can actually take another one is about, we just recently launched as vacuum. We actually, it can hunt when you are not in the home. Potentially, we can actually vacuum your home with your, with your iRobot, vacuum, for example. So I think you're going to start seeing more of these sort of proactive experiences coming into light. And I think that one of the things that is becoming really interesting is you have all these different signals that these devices are emitting for you. With these signals, we can learn a lot about with machine learning. Oh, guess what, Jeff? Actually, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what? Probably, we want to turn off the lights for him because you maybe forgot your lights, or maybe we want to lock the door for you, or maybe we want to on your alarm system. In those type of use cases, I think that is definitely one area where there is tons of opportunity there for us.
Yeah, agreed. So that leads me to another question that I had, which is, you guys have a bunch of interesting tech challenges that your team faces as you think about all of the things that you're working on. Can you share what some of the bigger challenges are that you guys are working on?
Well, I think there are many different challenges. I think more than challenges, I think the more is opportunities to innovate. But definitely one of the things that we talk in our teams frequently is this concept of scale. How do you scale, right? Today, Alexa connects hundreds of millions of devices, right? We have, millions of customers using our products every day. That, to me, is, first of all, enables us to really understand, the capabilities that matters the most for customers. And as you start understanding those capabilities, you got to think about I can still deliver an amazing experience to our customers, voice, through GUI, through machine learning and AI. And the concept of scaling is definitely keeps coming up. How do you scale your backend services? How do you scale your front end services? How do you scale, all the signals that you've been collecting in these data points of a structured and unstructured data? If you train machine learning models, then we can quickly be able to provide something that is really interesting and accurate to the customer. These things really start mattering the most. The accuracy also in this predictable experience really matters, because you want to do it in a way that they do two things. One is that we want to collect the right signals. We want to actually learn about this type of experiences, but at the same time we got to do it with keeping the privacy and the trust of our customers. So it becomes actually quite a challenge, right? Because the privacy of our customers is our number one priority. We always use this as our tenet. So how do you learn that, you train your machine learning models in a way that you keep the privacy and the security of the customer data as well? Those are difficult trade-offs, but ultimately, we always make the trade-off of privacy and security over, innovating in ways that potentially can actually create, a trust issue with our customers. So those are really interesting challenges: scale, delivering accurate machine learning predictions to customers while keeping the privacy and the security of the data of our customers.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's something that we just can't emphasize enough, that side of privacy and security. There is such an opportunity to forge forward without that in high regard. And I think without it, a lot of the other stuff just won't work. I spend a lot of time talking about big picture future, right? 5-10 years away, and how we have virtual assistants that are solving all sorts of problems for us and acting on our behalf autonomously. And none of that happens without privacy, security, and trust. If we can't be good stewards of information, then none of the rest of it works. And I think that's an unfortunate part about the future that we're looking at, is that everybody has to play nicely, right? It's not just Amazon, it's not just Alexa, but it's also every hardware partner. It's every API that we're going to be pushing data through. All of those places have to be playing the same game. And so while it's an exciting future, it's also a very interesting view into how software is going to have to work.
That's right, Jeff. I think that there is this delicate balance that we need to always keep in mind as we start innovating while keeping, that sort of customer trust with us. And I think you said, well, it's not just us, it's an industry, right? I think that, we work with, thousands of partners that builds these smart home experiences with us. And this is something that we work very closely with them, and how can we still innovate in delivering awesome features to customers while at the same time we have this sort of concept of a vault of the data, right? That the customer has control and transparency about what data we're collecting, why are we collecting them, and give them the empowerment to basically make decisions that they are important to them, even though that might actually reduce potentially the value of a particular feature. I think those are the right trade-offs for our customers. Also, like you were mentioning about the industry, I think we start seeing as well, more standards coming up in the industry about creating, this type of harmony between device makers as well as, voice assistants. We are recently, we've been announcing, innovation in something that we call Matter, which is basically the standard about how you can securely interrupt, devices within your home. So it uses basically, IPv6 as a way of transport to connect the devices. But basically what this means is that you as a manufacturer with a Matter device, you can basically integrate that device with very little implementation or custom implementation code to be set up and configure, discover, managed by different voice assistants, if it's Alexa or it's Google or it's Apple or others. Yeah, I think that secure interrupt is moving in the right direction, because it'll start enabling us to have that industry impact. You start working together with others to really keep that security, the privacy of the customer data in mind when we implement.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned hunches earlier, which I think are a fantastic innovation, but I'd love to know if there are any other specific innovations that your team has produced that you'd like to call out.
Well, I think the portfolio of innovation in a smart home it goes across multiple different verticals, if you will. I think that yes, hunches is definitely it's been one of our more popular feature with regards to using machine learning. You start using this sort of proactive experience, and I think that is a big piece of our innovation, not only just for today but for the future. This really ties pretty well with sort of the concept of the ambient intelligence home. Also, we've been innovating a lot in the sustainability space. We recently launched as well an energy dashboard, what actually collects data points about the usage of your devices in the home. If through those we can actually start doing calculation and let you know about your current, kilowatt spend. Potentially, as you can imagine, we can actually start helping you, to start making decisions that are more sustainable. So really excited about that, the energy dashboard. We have launched a product, called Guard Plus, which is basically it uses basically Echo family devices to actually use acoustic event detection to actually let us know if there is an anomaly in your home. For example, if we hear that a glass is breaking, we're going to give you a notification and say, look, maybe there is something going on in your home that you want to know. Or maybe if we see activity, somebody is in the home when you are away. And this type of safety use cases, frankly, as innovation that has had already an interesting impact on our customers. I mean, I love to see some of these stories we have witnessed this year with customers. Safety, they saved their puppy because we detected there was an alarm and a smoke alarm going in their home because there was a fire. And Alexa communicated to the customer, "Hey, look, you may want to check this out. We have detected that there is a smoke alarm going off." If this customer was able to go to their home and save their puppy, right? I mean, I know it's sort of subtle things, but it's just such an impactful emotional attachment that you feel like, well, you are making an impact with that type of innovation. And if we have seen this type of feedback from customers about how it's changing their lives, this type of capabilities with Alexa arguments, not just being in a speaker and an assistant, but we can use the sensors on the devices to do much more.
Yeah.
So I love innovation.
I actually had this experience just last night.
Did
So
you?
I have a routine set up to alert me if it hears breaking glass. And we were all here at home. We were in bed, and we knew instantly what it was. But we heard our cat downstairs in the kitchen take a small bowl and knock it off the counter, and it fell on the ground and it shattered into a bunch of pieces. And I instantly got a notification that it heard broken glass, and I was like, that's amazing. Now, obviously, it wasn't an emergency or a concern. Yeah. It was a reason for me to go downstairs and yell at my cat. But that was a remark, because that's the first time I've ever had it go off. And it was so interesting to me to think about what I would have done if I hadn't been home and I heard that. It still is a cat breaking a bowl, but I probably would have then said, like let's take a look at I have an Echo Show 10 in my kitchen. Let's take a look in the kitchen and see what's going on. Or as we move into devices like Astro the robot, go see what's happening, right? And it can pop a camera up and it can show you around your house. I think those kinds of things there's a peace of mind at being able to get knowledge that would otherwise never be accessible. Right? There's just certain pieces of information that you can't know without going back home and verifying. Another one that I like to use is my wife uses a hot iron, curling iron on her hair. And literally every time we leave the house, we pull out of the driveway and she goes, "Did I unplug that?" Right? She can't remember whether or not she did that. Well, in today's world, people are doing all sorts of crazy things to try to solve that problem. They will take a picture of it. They'll take a video of themselves saying, "Look, I just unplugged this thing," so that later they can look through their phone and be like, "Oh yeah, I guess I did do that." But it's amazing to me how we can start to have this kind of technology that not only alerts us to things that are going on in a place that we're not, but also gives us the opportunity to peek in and see what's going on.
Yeah. No, and I think that, those safety, peace of mind use cases, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, right? And I think that if we can help our customers, to anticipate, these type of potential safety situations, I mean, like CSU smoke alarm, or in your case, I really like the case of your cat breaking, not necessarily the play, but also that you get a notification and it enables you to actually now stream from your Echo Show device from the camera. You'll be able to take a look, right? It's like, oh, it was the cat. Oh, well, versus, oh, geez, there is somebody in the home, right? I mean, those are the two extremes, right? But actually being able to know about that, giving those type of information to the customer, that is really what we are trying to do. Is really to help the customer to do more with the devices that they have in the home. You start really amplifying, these type of use cases. And I think in one area too, the innovation, going back is you mentioned routines. We do provide a lot of recommended routines to customers. They are super popular because customers like, oh, wait a second, I can actually have a routine, to turn on my alarm off when I go leave the home. I have a routine, when I'm watching movies. I have a routine when I'm cooking. All
Right.
these type of routines, they're like super awesome, right? Yeah, I think if we see a lot of interest. We actually seen customers, creating their own routines. And I think that provides, the level of, I get evolution. The customers, they are becoming more and more sophisticated to some degree, and more, willing to start doing this type of activities themselves. So I think, yeah, I think this is an area where I think we can definitely do a lot more. I think another area, the innovation that I'm very proud of the team is that, we keep basically developing more and more APIs and integration with our device makers, right? I think one of the things that we want to do is to make the seamless experience. The devices can actually integrate. Like think about cameras, right? Like this year, we have built a set of capabilities a lot about doing live streaming, where you can, from your phone, live stream different cameras. You can live stream, obviously, your Ring doorbell.
Right.
This type of it becomes actually really cool that anywhere where you have an internet connectivity, you can actually go and see your home. You gotta be able to stream, be able to get notifications, be able to start detecting things, right? And I think this is definitely an area where you're going to see all the innovation coming out from the Alexa team from the smart home.
Awesome. So we've talked about some of the innovations that you've produced, but I imagine there's always one, maybe two that are like your favorite children. Uh, what are some of the things that you feel, one, that you're most proud of, but two, some of the ones that maybe have had the biggest impact on customers?
Yeah, this is a tough one because I'm gonna answer this question, then the team they're gonna come back to me. It's like, wait a second. They're like, how about this? It's like, oh, I
I'm trying
forgot.
to stir the pot. That's all. I'm trying to.
Exactly. No, but I think the ones that we described earlier are actually I'm really proud of having the emotional customer impact that we have, like with Guard and Guard Plus. I mean, really, we didn't know that we were going to have that type of impact with customers, and it is happening, right? And I think that. To me, also, I'm very proud of the work that we've done with Hunches because it has created really this foundation about how do we bring more intelligence and proactive experience into the home. So I think these foundations, right? I think are really important. And actually, I'm pretty proud as well about our voice experience. I mean, I'm totally, it's mind blowing to me how we start seeing more and more these sort of natural language communication with the devices with your home. I remember in the early days of Alexa, and I would say that we used to train the customers to speak to Alexa, right?
Right.
You need to learn how to talk to Alexa. And now you see this transformation, where we actually start becoming more like customer friendly and understanding, the customer. So you can start using more natural language. Start using more like what I call normal expressions. Yeah, I think that evolution, what we start doing in that space, is frankly remarkable. I imagine a world, where you're going to be able to talk to your device like you talk to your friends and family, right? It's like, hey, Alexa, I'm going to call right now. Your thermostat will change temperature.
Right.
So I think that innovation right now, I'm very proud that our voice experience, our machine learning and proactive experience, definitely Gar. I can go on and on. Hopefully, the team will forget me that I forgot probably one. But I think it's so much to be proud about what the team is doing every day.
You sound like a very proud father of a bunch of different children. I think it's great.
So yeah, no, I am. I think yeah, honestly, I'm very proud too of what we have ahead of us. Right, I think we are learning so much. There is so many technology and complexities in what we are trying to do. One of the things that I'm excited about is the opportunity. The opportunity to actually have this impact on people's lives. It is beyond what we do today. It's just with devices. I think we actually that we are in that sort of inflection point of really changing, what a smart home is going to be like. So I'm very proud already on how the teams are thinking, the problems that we are going to go and resolve for the next couple of years as well.
All right. Well, I have a couple of more questions, but the last one that really digs deep on the work that you're doing is about advancements. I know we've touched on this a little bit already, but I'd love to know kind of what you see coming in the future and what are the big opportunities that you see as a result of that.
Well, I think you're right. We touched a little bit in this ambient intelligence, right? Where, in a nutshell, I mean, I think the way how we need to start thinking about this ambient intelligence is about really start using more AI is a way of creating this level of, if you will, harmony and coordination between the devices in your home, right? Until this point, devices are being sort of monolithic to some degree, right? If you buy a light bulb or you buy a switch or you buy a thermostat or a lock for your front door, these devices, to some degree, they've been working as sort of a standalone. The ambient intelligence is about bringing this concept of AI to say, but wait a second, we can take the signals of all these different devices, if we can orchestrate, how these devices work together to deliver an end-to-end customer experience. And I think that to me is the future, right? I think I really like, sort of Dave Lynch's vision about this sort of the fabric of the home, the ability of bringing these sort of experiences working together. And that's directionally where we're going, right? So it's going to require a lot of innovation, especially in machine learning and AI. I mentioned earlier some of the signals that I was referring to are different type of signals that comes in different structured and unstructured ways, right? It could be a video clip, it could be a voice command, it could be a configuration in the device, it could be an action that the customer take. So you got to take these different signals, train models, to be able to provide this type of sort of experiences, right? So as you can imagine, the innovation there is like I said, we are still in the infant stages, but I think that is where we got to sort of invest, because we know the customers are becoming more sophisticated. They want to be more delighted by this type of experiences. It's not anymore just about turning off the light. I mean, yes, of course, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. Hopefully, really using more that proactive experience that I was referring to, kind of like what you were asking for, Jeff.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, let's go build this ambient home where all these devices, work together in a harmony, that we can collect and deliver both capabilities and services that they are intelligent.
I like that. All right. Well, there's a couple of things that I want to share with our audience. You guys may have seen that I've run a ticker from time to time. There are a lot of opportunities on the smart home team, and you can find all sorts of information at alexa.design/smart home jobs. In the meantime, though, Angel, are there any specific roles just off the top of your head that you are anxious to fill, like the ones that are really impactful or important?
You're asking really difficult questions, Jeff, because
I know. I apologize.
And then the team is going to be, but how about mine?
Right. I know. I'm putting you on a tough spot.
No, I think in the areas that we are investing, like we have roles that I think are really critical in the security and safety space that I mentioned earlier, in Guard Plus. I think that's an area where we are looking for people that really can sort of innovate and think about what is these new use cases of the future. So we have some very interesting, project management roles, developer roles that I think they can help us, to sort of start pivoting the future and start innovating. Roles about the experience, right? We talk about, the experience that we have in our phones and our multimodal devices and Fire TV, tablets. But also, we got to start thinking about like, well, how you take this experience and how you basically continue raising the bar, you continue innovating, right? So I think we have some very interesting roles in that sort of front end customer GUI experience. The same thing in voice. I think I mentioned that we are sort of in this innovation together with our partners and the Alexa linguistics team about how do we sort of start making the experience with an Alexa and a smart home more natural, more intuitive. And so great roles in science. So if you are a data science or if you are an applied scientist, let me tell you the amount of opportunity to innovate, cultivate new ideas, and actually one of the things that I really like about our scientist team is that they really sort of put themselves up there by trying new things and explore new ways of doing this type of intelligence. And I think see, you like research, if you like to sort of explore new ideas, definitely great opportunities there. And by the way, not just with the smart home team, this is really across Alexa, as you know, Jeff. So definitely I would love to see those type of roles being filled, because I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. Another area, I know you say you asked, so I'm going to have to share another area that I think that we are really focusing a lot is our developers. Yeah, I think this is going to become more and more important. I think it goes to a point that you made earlier about our industry, in how do we need to work and collaborate with our partners, with our developer communities, to actually bring these experiences, bring more of this harmony of working together, right? So the way how we innovating in APIs, how we innovating in tooling, is something that we need to continue sort of innovating faster, and putting a lot more opportunity in developers to think outside the box. Innovation doesn't come just from a few people in a what I call in a room. Innovation comes from so many different sources. Sometimes our developer communities really help us with this type of innovation. So if you're interested in developers, we have some great roles in both in engineering and PMT. If you're interested in GAR, security and safety, we have great roles there as well. Sustainability, if you are if you're interested about how you can use smart home devices to make a more sustainable home, there is the great opportunities there as well. So, or you can just reach me in my Twitter handle, and I'll be happy to talk with you as well one-on-one.
Perfect. You heard that. Everybody hit him up on Twitter. Well, Angel, thank you. I'm going to share another link, alexa.design/smarthomelife. This is an article that was recently published on About Amazon about some of the cool ways that you can use your devices in your smart home. And with that, as we wrap things up here, Angel, I'd love to ask you, one, how many voice-enabled devices do you have in your home?
Can I have a sec?
Yeah.
Last time that I think that I have like 48, but I think I added 2 more recently. So I think I'm up to yes, I'm not 3. So I'm 51.
51. Wow.
51 devices.
Okay, and now the final question before we wrap.
Yeah.
What is the coolest smart home thing you have in your home? The thing that you like when your friends come over, you're like, oh, I got to show you this.
Oh, wow.
I'm hoping it's like a secret bookshelf or something, but it's probably not.
It's, I do gotta say the Astro, it's very cool.
Oh, you have one at home?
Well, I did for a while, but I've never showed it to my friends because we couldn't. But
Sure.
if I had, that would be one for me to show, because I was in love with that device. It was just so cute. I mean, it was like, it would be around you, and I love the camera coming in. By the way, we integrated GAR and Ring, for security use cases. So, when I was testing it, I would be like, somewhere, I'll be testing it. My wife will go ask me, she's like, what are you doing? I go, I'm just testing this product. It's like, you gotta eat. I'm like, okay, I will eat. So, because I was just sort of hooked, to be able to do this. So I really like that. But in home, the ones that I show my friends when they come home, I really show them our Echo Show 10 devices. I think they're awesome. I really, really, really like them. They just provide some very cool experience. They actually ask me when they come home, it's like, wait a second, is that a P2, frame? I know it's an Echo Show device, because I showed the P2s, if they see themselves, if they ask me, it's just a really interactive. The speaker sounds really good, so we can play music. So it's an all in all, I really like that device. And I think it's from our partners, one of the devices that I really like, I get a lot of the questions from my friends. It's actually my Ring doorbell and the lights that I have outside. So I don't know, so the solar lights the Ring provides, the outdoor. So I have those. And the thing is pretty cool, detects motion as well. So you can actually get a detect motion. You can actually get a video frame into your Fire TV, be able to see it. Anyway, those are like, I know they're like very silly use cases, but they are the ones that people are like, oh wow, you can do that. Yes, like yes, you can, and you show them, and then they ask me, can you give me a discount on Amazon? It's like, no, I can't. So, but I'm like, it's really, it's awesome.
Yes, that is always the second question for sure. I definitely want to thank you so much for being here today. This was an awesome conversation, and I got to learn a lot about you and a lot of the work that you guys are doing. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. It's been great, spending the morning with you and having an opportunity to talk about all the great things that the team is building. And by the way, I'm really fascinated by your collection in the back. I do gotta say, totally fascinating. And I really like that you are the Star Wars fan, first of all. Yeah. I'm totally like into it as well. You have Roku, which I keep getting.
Oh yeah, I even got Han Solo and Carbonite if you like.
Oh god, that's awesome. That is awesome. No, I just been totally fascinated because I'm like, it was difficult for me when I'm looking at you, not looking in the mic, like, oh, there is Roku with a little hand, and
it's very distracting. And in fact, I have. You're only seeing a very small part of the collection here. There's actually about 300 of them in this room. And most of my Star Wars collection is that direction, off camera. But there's a lot of cool ones for sure.
That's awesome. Well, that's pretty cool. I really like that background. It's definitely very engaging.
Certainly. Well, thank you again for being here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to get to share these conversations with all of you. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you again very soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.